Good evening, Professor Byers. I hope you're feeling great and had a great trip. This is my grandma, Mammy, Peggy Wilson, and this is my mom, Rachel, and this is my grandfather, Papa, Dan Wilson. They're all ready to hear the speech.
The more cultures a person chooses to become a part of and associate with themselves with, the more diversified their perspectives on life and cultures in general become. Although high school and college might not necessarily be considered a culture, especially not as strictly defined as a culture, such as cultures I'm already part of, such as the Southern Baptist child culture, growing up Christian culture, and the adopted kids culture, I believe that these cultures, or what I consider cultures, are very important to my fellow students of this class. In a few months, well, actually a year and a few months, I get to diversify my perspective on life. Yes, I'm talking about the transition between high school culture to college culture. Although I've been blurring the lines between high school culture and college culture association since I took my COMM 105 dual credit class, I'm still looking forward to studying the differences of cost of living in each culture, scheduling and time management of each culture, and sheer independence of each culture. Perhaps one of the most notable differences between high school and college culture is expenses that come with colleges. Perhaps those differences can be summed up with 3 words that many people know all too well: student loan debt. As demonstrated in this political cartoon, as you can see, the overwhelmed and tired college graduated student is weighted down by his student loans, while the adult is asking, why are you still coming at home? Why are you still here? Perhaps that type of debt can be attributed to a recent statistic released by the National Center for Education Statistics that said a 4-year college tuition can round up to $40,000 plus, and that does actually not account directly towards what one might major in. That debt can be associated with big money makers such as college and doctors, or be passed down to future teachers like me. Awesome! Other debts that can be associated with college can include textbooks, rent, having to pay for your own groceries, gas prices, and other extra expenses that might come with a class. And although, yes, high school has to deal with different expenses, such as maybe their parents are trying to make them more financially independent by paying for their phone bill or gas money, that money will not compare to the cost of living in university. Thankfully, there are programs such as FAFSA to help address these issues, and presidential candidates, ex-presidential candidates such as Andrew Yang, willing to focus on needs of paying for living expenses and stuff like that in college culture lifestyles. Perhaps my favorite difference, and maybe a difference that one might not think of, is the differences of scheduling. High school schedules are notoriously more fixed because of the state standards that they are under. For example, high schoolers must take 4 core classes: science, math, English, and social studies. Of those 4 classes, 2 classes must be taken the whole 4 years of their high school experience, and those classes are math and English. I'm excited for college because one can choose their own schedule with a couple minor guidelines based on their future and their needs. So here's my schedule, and here's what for high school, and here's what my college schedule might look like. Right now, I take 6 classes, including this one, and although I got some choice, no, my high school did not make me take this class. This was by sheer choice and interest. I still had to fill in spots. With university, such as the WKU, they really give you flexibility of when and where you take your classes and what classes you take. The final difference is college prompts greater independence, and this is perhaps the most talked about and the most identifiable among parents. As seen with cost differences in scheduling, college life prompts greater independence from high school life. And that independence can be both good and bad. For example, like mentioned before, college life prompts greater financial stewardship, while high school you have a little bit more room to make mistakes, although mistakes can have lasting impacts. In college, financial stewardship is a must to stay afloat in the college life. In conclusion, these differences are now becoming hot topics in discussion platforms of political candidates, such as Andrew Yang. And although these differences between cultures are daunting, I think they're a great part of life and a great part of growing up. Thank you.